I'm with Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. A long, distinguished family history, brother of Yonatan Netanyahu, the hero of Entebbe. And we are here at this sukkah at this occasion. And Mr. Ambassador, I know there are a few things you wanted to tell our viewing audience about, and the microphone is yours.
Well, number one, I'd like to wish all the Jewish listeners a happy Sukkot holiday. I think also that we are, I hope, about to celebrate another event, an important one, I think, for the Jewish people. We've been struggling for the last year or so to try to open the hidden Nazi files in the UN. We've met with some considerable resistance to that notion. There have been some people in some countries that have wanted to keep this archive closed. I think we're going to be successful, and I hope and I believe that the Secretary General of the UN will decide, with our urgings, to open up these archives. This will do justice to both history and, of course, to justice itself.
Mr. Ambassador, I've wanted to ask you this question for a long time because you've been very central in this issue. Explain it to me. I really don't understand. How is it possible that Kurt Waldheim could have been made the presiding officer of the United Nations, Secretary General, and 2 floors down, the information on his Nazi past was there and no one ever saw it? Please, I know you as an old Arab expression, dugri, be straight about it. I know you will. How is that possible that no one ever knew that, or did they?
Well, I can tell you about Israel. We didn't even know that there were such files in the UN. In fact, when we heard about the Waldheim affair, we wanted to find out whether there was such a file in the UN. So I called up and I said to the Secretary General, I'd like to see this file. And he said, all right, come and see it. And we were brought to this building, not the UN tower, but a dilapidated building on Park Avenue South. We're taken up to a waiting room. They brought this yellowing file to us, and we looked at it, and we were stunned. It had some of the most unbelievable charges against Mr. Waldheim. So my first thought was, how do I know that this file is authentic? I asked to see where that file came from. And they took us to a very large room, and in that room I discovered not only that the file was authentic, but that there were 40,000 other files just like that, sitting undisturbed for 40 years. The UN was sitting on top of this unbelievable storehouse of documentation about the war criminals who committed the greatest crimes in the history of man, and they have been kept under lock and key, safe from public scrutiny for 40 years. We said that cannot go on. It must change, and we have changed it.
Mr. Ambassador, if someone was to posit to you that there's no way that the powers that be in the UN didn't know about Kurt Waldheim's past, could you buy that theory?
I think all of that will come out. I don't want to speculate right now. I do know one thing. The fact that he had a file and that there are many, many other files of people that we don't even know who they are. The fact that these files have been sitting there for such a long time and are still sitting there undisturbed is absolutely unacceptable.
Forgive me for pressing the issue one last time. It would seem to me that if someone was about to be elected Secretary General of the United Nations, that his past would come under scrutiny. I can't imagine how that information would have eluded the eyes of the powers that be in the nations in the UN. Can you imagine how?
Well, there are 2 possibilities. It either eluded some, or it might not have eluded some and they didn't care.
Why do you think that there has been an attempt at a cover-up of this information?
Well, of the files, we know definitely that the existing files which we uncovered looking for the Waldheim file, this large reservoir, 40,000 files, there has been active resistance not to open it. Why? Look, there are a lot of pretexts that are offered. If you ask me, I think none of them hold up. I think there are other reasons maybe that might be speculated upon. I don't want to do speculations.
Why not? Why not? Don't you think? Don't you think?
Since you asked me, I'll tell you. I'm not interested in speculation. We can all assume that there are all sorts of motives, maybe some innocent, some not so innocent. But I want one thing. I want justice. I want truth. I cannot deal with justice or truth without opening this archive. What will happen once we open the archive is that you'll achieve both objectives. I don't care why these people want to keep this archive closed. I care about opening it. And we've been fighting, my colleagues and I in the Israeli mission, also many representatives of the Jewish organizations who are right with us here in this sukkah, have been fighting to open it up. And I think that this effort is going to come to fruition. I think that within the next month, possibly within the next few weeks, we will have that archive opened, and I think that will be a great day for the cause of the Jewish people and the cause of decent people everywhere.
One question that's on my viewer's mind, and I have a responsibility to ask it. You don't have a responsibility to answer it, but the question is, there are a lot of people believe that the reason that that file was not open was because that there was a tremendous amount of conspiratorial activity done by neighboring nations with the Nazis, and that will bring out a lot of people who are in public eye today and show them that they possibly, show the world they possibly took part in this atrocity. Can you believe that that's a good possibility?
I can tell you that of the tens of thousands of files that are there, at least several hundred and possibly several thousand of the people who are there are alive, and quite a few of them were not brought to trial, which means that they're distributed in several countries. And there's no question in my mind that once the archives are open, these people will be tracked down, and if we work fast enough, will be brought to justice in the lifetime and within the lifetime of their own victims. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Netanyahu.
Thank you.